How often do you think about the faces you don't see, the people living in the shadows of our thriving cities? This is the unseen crisis, the alarming rise in homelessness in Metro Vancouver and British Columbia. Back in 2014, a province-commissioned homelessness count revealed 2,777 individuals without a place to call home in Metro Vancouver. Fast forward to 2023, and this number had surged to at least 4,821. And these are just the ones we know about. There are countless others, hidden away, sleeping on a friend's couch, or in other circumstances that make them difficult to find and count. The reality is, the actual number of homeless individuals is likely far greater than we can begin to comprehend. These are not just statistics. These are our fellow Canadians. But what's causing this surge in homelessness? Let's delve into the heart of the matter. At the epicenter of this crisis is the extremely high cost of living in Metro Vancouver. A big part of that is the high and growing cost of housing. What's been behind the incredible increase in housing cost? Demand has outstripped supply by orders of magnitude. Over the last decade, the federal government, working with the provincial government and post-secondary institutions, engaged in a policy to bring in as many international students as possible. In just the last 2 years, 60,000 new international students have come to Metro Vancouver. This has had a devastating effect on the housing market. Each of these students needs somewhere to live, usually in basement suites and low-end apartments. So those people already living here, who would normally seek out such rental accommodations, have to compete with international students. This has the effect of pushing more people into homelessness. International students and temporary foreign workers work outside of school hours and often take jobs that typically otherwise would go to current residents. This also pushes down overall wage rates by diluting the labor pool. This is additional pressure on those who are vulnerable again, increasing the likelihood that individuals will become homeless. The BC Government Corporation BC Housing created a homelessness prevention program as an enhancement to an outreach program. This initiative, launched in 2014, was designed to provide assistance to those teetering on the edge of homelessness. However, it has been hampered by a couple of significant roadblocks. Firstly, the eligibility criteria. It's extremely limited. Many of those who find themselves on the precipice of homelessness are unable to access this lifeline due to stringent rules and regulations. This leaves a vast number of vulnerable individuals without the support they desperately need. Secondly, the amount of aid provided is woefully inadequate. A mere $450 is all that is given to an individual facing the possibility of homelessness. In the cities of Metro Vancouver, where the cost of living is sky high, this amount is far from sufficient. Now let's consider the impact of these shortcomings. On an individual level, homelessness poses significant health and safety risks. It strips away basic human rights, dignity, and erodes self-esteem. It creates a cycle of despair that's incredibly hard to break. On a community level, the effects are just as profound. Homelessness puts increased pressure on our already strained social services and public spaces. It's a visible reminder of the inequality that plagues our society, and it fosters a sense of helplessness and frustration among those who witness it daily. The statistics speak for themselves. Over the last 3 years, homelessness in Metro Vancouver has increased by an alarming 30%. This is a clear indication that the current system is not working. The current system, quite simply, is failing us. The clock is ticking, and the situation is only getting worse. Such is the state of homelessness in Metro Vancouver. Over the last 3 years, we've seen a 30% increase in the number of people without a place to call home. That's not just a statistic, it's a crisis. It's a growing number of individuals falling through the cracks, struggling to find shelter, and grappling with the harsh realities of life on the streets. Each day that passes, every moment we delay, the problem continues to expand, like a stain seeping into the fabric of our society. This isn't a distant issue to be put on the back burner. It's an immediate concern that requires prompt and decisive action. It's a matter of urgency, a pressing predicament that demands our attention here and now. It's important to remember that behind these increasing numbers are real people. They are our neighbors, our fellow Canadians, individuals with dreams, aspirations, and potential, just like the rest of us. But their lives have been overshadowed by the cloud of homelessness, their futures uncertain, their days filled with the struggle for survival. The urgency of the matter cannot be overstated. Every day without action is another day that someone else falls into the abyss of homelessness. It's another day that we fail our fellow Canadians, another day that we allow the crisis to deepen. We need to do better. We need to act faster. We need to recognize the urgency of this issue and respond accordingly. We need to see the growing number of homeless people, not just as statistics, but as an urgent call for change. Every day that passes without significant action is a lost opportunity to turn the tide, to make a difference, to bring about change. We cannot afford to wait. The time for change is now. Let's not let another day pass without taking decisive action. Let's not let the clock keep ticking while the situation continues to get worse. The urgency of the matter calls for nothing less. So what can we do? How can we turn this situation around, one might ask? The answer lies within our collective power to instigate change. We need to address the root of the problem, the homelessness prevention program, which is in dire need of expansion. It's not just about inflating the numbers, it's about redefining the eligibility criteria to encompass those who are unseen, those who are drifting from couch to couch, those who are just a paycheck away from losing their homes. This expansion is not a luxury, but a necessity. The current aid amount of $450 is just a drop in the ocean. It can barely cover a week's worth of expenses in Metro Vancouver, let alone prevent someone from spiraling into homelessness. We need an increase that's substantial, an amount that can genuinely make a difference, that can provide a safety net for those teetering on the edge. The cost of continuing with the current approach is too high, as it's clearly not working for homelessness is increasing every year. The definition of insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting a different result. Prevention costs less than staffing shelters and related services. Prevention takes more planning but will save more lives. But how do we make this happen? It starts with us voicing our concerns. We need to reach out to those in government and make them understand the problem and point to the solutions we want to see. We must implore the housing minister to take action, to see the urgency of the situation, and to understand the human cost of inaction. We're not just talking about numbers here, we're talking about people, about our fellow Canadians who are living in the shadows, unseen, unheard, struggling to survive. No one in a country as rich as Canada should ever be cold, hungry, or living on the streets. It's time we bring them into the light. It's time we give them a voice. It's time we stand up for a cause that affects us all, directly or indirectly. Let's not forget, this is not just about preventing homelessness. It's about creating a society where everyone has a fair chance, where everyone has a safe space to call home. It's about building a future where no one is left behind. Together, we can make a difference. Let's not let it be too late for our fellow Canadians living in the shadows. The quality of a society can be measured by we care for the least fortunate among us. Together, we can help those currently homeless come in from the cold and prevent others from ever becoming so.